Welcome to the Revere Veterans Service in conjunction with the Revere Veterans Corner in conjunction with the Revere Veterans Service with Nick Bula as the director and the Revere Allied Veterans Council. Today I brought a special guest from the Revere Journal. His name is Seth Daniel. He's a senior reporter. He's been with them for 30 years. And Seth, would you please tell us how you first got started reporting and how you got into the Journal?
Sure, of course. First, thanks for having me on, Morris.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. And, well, let's get into it. How did I get started at the Journal?
Right.
Well, I had a friend who, I worked at the Journal when it was up the street. Everybody remembers that. So many years. It was right there where the pizza shop is now. And so I started there, and a friend of mine was the photographer, and we worked together, and we worked on the Chelsea paper and the Revere paper, and then a good friend of mine, Dave Procopio, who a lot of people will remember as the reporter in Revere for many years.
He's working for the city now.
That's right, Dave Procopio, and he moved on. He got a new job, and there was a new ownership in the paper, and I assumed the duties of Revere, and still do some stuff in Chelsea too, for our paper there. So I got started in Revere about 13 years ago. Yeah, pretty much right when the former mayor, Tom Ambrosino, came into office. And so ever since then, I've been the reporter in Revere and covering all sorts of stories from the schools to the senior center to
I was going to mention
Memorial Day, veterans, all sorts of veterans affairs, you name it.
Okay, I would like to ask you a couple of questions, if I may.
Sure.
Since you've been reporting, I want you to tell me the best news report you ever had to do, and at the same time, the worst ones, if you ever had a problem.
Well, I'd say the worst one, definitely, had to be the McFarland family. I think they're on Olive Street, and they lost their daughter in the 9/11 attacks, Marianne McFarland. And so only a few days later, they invited me down to interview them, and it was just so sad. She was on one of the planes that went into the World Trade Center.
Oh.
And she was just a great-spirited person, young at heart, and it's just so odd that she was here one day and gone the next. And that was really the toughest story that probably I've covered because
that would be.
Yeah,
that would be. And the best one you ever covered?
The best one, and there's a lot of good ones. There really are.
Pick two of them at least.
Well, have to say. At the senior center, there's a guy named Morris who plays the
I didn't say the worst. I said the best.
No, probably the best. There was a really good one I did a few years ago, excuse me, where there was two people living in up in Peabody at the assisted living up there they have, and they were from Revere originally, and they didn't know each other, and they were talking at the dinner table one night. And one of them, they said, "Oh, you're from Revere," and she said, "Oh, yeah, I'm from Revere." He goes, "Oh, I'm from Revere too." And they, were reminiscing, and she got to talking about how her house had caught on fire when she was a girl, and she lost her mother, two of her sisters, and it was, it was a terrible tragedy in her life. She had been at her aunt's house, so she was spared. And he goes, "Really? Where was it at?" And well, she told him, and he said, "I ran into that house and saved some people." It was him. He had actually saved. I believe it was one or two of her sisters, and it was in the middle of the night, and his shift at GE was starting, so he saved them, handed them off to the fire department, and then got in his car and went to his shift at GE, and they never knew each other, and then they met 60 years later.
I got to tell you,
so it was a really, really great, kind of thing that they were reunited.
I like to point this article out. It's the Revere Journal, and this was in the issue of January the 16th. There was an article written here for 141 women that were in World War II. And that woman was Eileen Murillo that went around to try and get the names for the women of Revere. And Seth wrote a fantastic article, Seth, and I would like to say this to you. One of the women came in whose name was not spelled correctly because we made the error.
Oh, okay.
And she came in and she said, "I saw your name in the paper." And she says, "That's me." So we found another woman who was alive because she doesn't live in Revere now. She lives outside of Revere. But she came in, and when she saw that article, she was so happy to see it, and she came over. She told me to personally thank you for the article.
Wow.
So I'm doing that for Marie. And I would like to thank you, and I'm sure Eileen would like to thank you.
Oh, yes.
So
Well, tell her personally they're welcome. You know, it's
Right.
it was a great story. I mean, that's one of the things that as Eileen and yourself had told me when we were doing the interview.
Well, I'm just a gopher.
Well, hey, it's one of those things where a lot of people have forgotten, or if they haven't forgotten, it's just not on their mind, and it's so long ago we almost risked losing all those names and all the service that was done.
I know, and Eileen, I got to give her credit. She worked at the Walter Reed Hospital, taking care of the wounded, taking care of the mentally ill, taking care of the amputees, and making them feel at home. And I mean, you know, even though she may not have been overseas, and because not everybody could be overseas, we need a woman like that at home, the waves, the wax. So, Eileen, if you're out there somewhere, thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And all the other 140
Plus,
on the list.
if you ever meet any of the other 141 that are still around, thank them from Seth, myself, and the city of Revere.
Of course.
Now, Seth, I would like to ask you a question about your education, if I may. Did you go to a journalism school?
I did. I went to, well, I after high school, I was always interested in journalism, even going back to probably the 7th grade. That's when I decided that's what I wanted to do, I guess, and I kind of pursued that for all that time. And I went to college.
Which one,
Ohio.
if I may ask?
I went to a college. Well, I'm from Butler, Missouri, a very small town in the southern part of Missouri, and I went from there to Ohio Wesleyan University. It's a small school in near Columbus, Ohio, and I went to journalism school there. Graduated, and before I even graduated, I was working full time at. For it used to be one of the biggest companies, newspaper companies in America. It was called Knight Ridder, and they owned a lot of newspapers. They're out of business now. They don't even exist. But at the time, they were a really, really big company, and I worked for them for their paper in Ohio, the Akron Beacon Journal. I covered what's the State House in Ohio, state government, and did that for a while, and then just through the course of events, I ended up in Massachusetts.
I know you're always down at our senior center during the holidays, especially the birthdays, taking pictures of the people, putting them in, the people that
the
want
raffles.
one.
Yep.
And I would like to say this to the folks out of Revere. If you live in the city of Revere and you're a Revere resident, welcome to our senior center. We have birthdays for the people that are born each month of the year. Give your name, you come down, you have a nice lunch. The lunches are only $1.50. And if you have never been to the senior center, you should come because you're paying for it. So we'd love to see you. That's part of that one over there.
Oh,
now,
yes.
I have a few things that I would like to, I wrote down that I would like to have a chance in your local paper when you get a chance, if they could be added and maybe along the way. These are dates that were given to me by the Revere Veterans Service.
Sure.
And we'll read them off. And for you folks out there, take a note of yourself because you might want to attend some of them. We have the May 19th,
Okay.
which is the retirement of the flags. That will be Sunday at 12:30 at the Matola Post. So if you have a shredded flag out there, a burnt flag, a torn flag, please bring it down and they will retire it.
Well, that's a very important issue. You know, that's being brought up a lot now.
Yep. Also on May 27th, which is on a Sunday set.
Okay.
We have the, on a Monday. We have May 27th, Monday. We have the Memorial Day get together at the American Legion where we read the names of all the deceased veterans of the World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Afghanistan.
Yep.
Also, we have the Columbus Day Parade coming on Monday, October the 14th.
Bringing that one back.
Right. Now, the reason I read these up because a couple of these are going to need donations, so we're going to be asking your paper to help us, just like some of the other papers. And the ones that will need the help will be the Wall That Heals.
I've heard about this.
Yeah, that'll be coming to the city of Revere at the Beachmont VFW. And it will be June the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. It will be open 24 hours a day. We need donations for that. And we also need volunteers, people who would man the post over there, men and women, to help the ones that come in from out of town. The wall is 250 feet long, I understand.
Now, is it going to be inside or outside?
It's going to be outside on the field, right behind the Beachmont VFW, from what I understand. And it's 250 feet long, so that's a long wall.
Yep.
So they're going to need all the help they can get.
Gotcha.
Now, I know you wrote a nice article about Eileen Murillo of the Revere Women's Memorial.
Yep.
I would rather you would expand on it when you spoke to her. Tell us what you found out about her and everything else you know.
Okay. Well, one of the things that was the most interesting to me right off the bat was the list of names she had, which was 141, like you just said. A lot of people, it's really timely actually even today, because you saw that the government, the military has kind of eased back the combat role for women. But if we go back in history, we have 141 women from Revere who really served in World War II in so many different capacities, who did all sorts of. We mentioned Eileen. She did amputees. She worked
right.
physical therapy. There were a number of different functions. I mean, she even told me that towards the end of the war, they just had to use women in a number of different ways because there were no men left. Everybody had gone to war. So it's really one of those things a lot of people have either forgotten about, but most people really never knew. And you mentioned the wax,
the
right?
waves, the wax.
The waves. I mean, that's something I don't even know if they're even teaching in school now. I mean, when I was in school, we learned briefly about World War II, but it was really my grandfather who served who told me about that, and my grandmother as well. And as we know, the veterans of World War II, men and women, are disappearing daily. And we almost lost this little piece of history for Revere had it not been for Eileen. It's important that those names are put on the memorial and honored every year, just like all the others.
Right. I got to tell you, I was down with Eileen. Eileen, if you're out there, I hope you're listening to me. I went down to the Rumney Marsh when we were looking to make a monument. We had no idea what it was going to look like. We went around, we checked the names to see how big and how wide they were, the gaps between them. And she came up and she said at the beginning it was 48 names or 40 names. And then all of a sudden she went and did research. Wore out a pair of shoes, from what I understand, trying to find out the names. She came up with 141.
Wow.
From 48 to 141, that's almost 90 plus names again. Right? So the stones, instead of being this big, got it a little bit bigger so she can add all the names on there. So Eileen and I went to Rumney Marsh. And I took a tour around Rumney Marsh. And I saw stones there that were over 350 years old. Some before the Colonial War, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War.
You're talking about the burial ground.
Around at Rumney Marsh, right.
Yep.
Right. So Eileen went on, we looked at the stones, and she looked at that stone that's there at Rumney Marsh. She says, that's beautiful. It's all made out of granite.
Yeah.
Letters are nice and black, and she said that's what she wanted. So we're trying to take up a collection for her, too, to see that her dream comes true. Now, Eileen is 80 plus years old, 88, 87. I'm 85 in July. So we're not young anymore, but I mean, to have someone come in at that age and do something like that is really fantastic. So we have good people in Revere that do a lot of work for us.
Absolutely.
Also, talking about veterans, I spoke to Nick Bullen. And he has a nice secretary, Donna Dreesen, that works down there.
Yeah, I'm familiar with her children, actually.
Right. She does a lot of work with the kids in the school. Every time she gets around Christmas time, she gets cards, gives them out to the kids. They sign them, send them out to the troops. She does all year long, not just like I do. I only do it for a few months. But she does it all year long for Operation Troop Support, to get books, money to donate for packages to go overseas. Not only on the holidays, but from January the 1st to December the 31st. She's busy with that on there. And she asked me to do this for her. She would like to have you people out there, if you could make a donation to the Revere Veterans Service, which is located at 249 Broadway, Revere, 02151. They are looking for socks. The color is white socks. They are looking for Ziploc bags, any size. And they are looking for toiletries. Also, let's see, on Memorial Day, they also need, this is at the Revere Center, they need yarn to make blankets for the troops.
This is at the Senior Center?
Right.
Okay.
Now, we have a lot of people at the Senior Center, women. Some of them said, don't mention my name. They're very shy. They're even shy to come onto the TV. But they do a lot of work for the veterans, for the community out there. By the way, Lois Diamond, who's in charge of all the activities there, does an excellent job because she's the one in charge with the yarn. She has the women sew blankets for the troops. That's one thing. The other thing I would like to mention to you, Seth, I don't know if Maureen Souza, you remember her?
Yes.
She retired.
Yeah. Oh, did she? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I would like you to tell how you knew her, how you got along with the veterans, just with Souza, and then I got a new lady that came in.
Okay. Well, no, we got it. The senior center staff is great. I mean, they always are accommodating, helpful, whether it's Lois, Mo. I mean, they're great, and I know
and there's Josephine too. That makes the trip.
Yes, Joe Picardi. Yep. They just they show genuine care and concern. I mean, make sure you guys get there. Everybody gets home. Everybody has a good time most of all, and I think everybody does. Every time I'm there, it's a lot of fun.
And then we have the director, Al Morelli, who goes out to all different organizations to get the food for us, to get the entertainment things for us.
Yes.
So, Al, if you're listening, thank you for the nice job you do. And we got a new woman that came in. Her name is Marissa Corrali, I believe it is.
Corrali?
She's took over Maureen's job. And
I didn't know that.
And she's only been there maybe a week or two, but she's doing an excellent job. So, if you get a chance, get down there, meet her, and write a nice story about her because
I know it,
right, because she's a fantastic lady and she does a lot of work. Now, I mentioned to you we had a priest come. I don't know if I mentioned to you at the beginning, but we had a priest come over today. His name is Father Healy.
Okay.
He cannot see too good, so he had a driver. His name is John Dodd. From what I understand, John Dodd was a fire chief in Malden.
Okay.
Not Malden. He was a fire chief, but him and Frank Fitzgerald knew each other. One from Malden, the one that you wrote about.
Oh yeah, I know Frank. Yeah.
So he was asking about the lunches and the things, and I was telling him the senior center. People don't know about it. The lunches were only $1.50. So you got to call in a day in advance if you want to have lunch there. They have activities. They have dancing. I wish I could dance again, but I can't. They have bowling, bocce ball. They even had a pool table there. So if you people want to play pool, come on down to the senior center. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, the bocce's popular. I know that.
Right. Excuse me. I also understand that the city of Revere, on the casino, which is coming into Revere, I've invited.
Well, we don't know that yet, but maybe.
Oh, it's not definite yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. But anyway, I've invited Chip Turner, I believe his name is.
Tuttle, yeah.
Chief Tuttle to come on our show, speak about it. So, Chip, if you're listening to me out there, we'd love to have you here too.
Oh, yeah. He knows more than anybody about it.
Right. And he also has a gentleman, I think his name is Christopher or Christine, who's a spokesman.
Christian, yeah.
Christian. We'd like to have him come on our show too.
Oh, yeah.
He could talk about it. And, to bring pictures, tell the people, because a lot of the people, I'm for the casino, I always say that, which I am. Some people are wavy, they don't know whether to say yes, they don't know whether to say no.
Everybody's got to make up their mind,
right.
I guess.
But they should look at the future of the city of Revere, not behind it, not the past. So what I would like to say, the people are not going to be here forever, but the city is going to be here forever. So any improvement that's made, jobs created, infrastructure created, go along with it, folks. And I hope they do get the casino in here. Now, Seth, what are your future plans with the Journal? I got to ask you that.
What are my future plans? Well, I don't know. I definitely, what do you mean by that?
I mean, is the Journal going to expand, or branch out to other, like they have, like the Revere Advocate?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what.
Other towns and things.
Yeah, we a lot of people don't realize this, but we do have 12 other papers already. We go
Would you mention them? Let the people know?
We go all the way from Lynn all the way into Jamaica Plain in Boston. So let me try to list them here. We have Jamaica Plain in Boston, Mission Hill, Back Bay in Boston, Beacon Hill, right? Charlestown, East Boston, Everett, Winthrop, Revere, Chelsea.
Wow.
And then into Lynn. And I know that I've forgotten something, but right off the top of my head, that's the North End of Boston. We have that one too. So we expanded a lot in the last, I'd say, 5 or 6 years. Right now, I don't know. I don't think so. Right now, it's sort of like, everything in the entire country is sort of like a wait-and-see approach right now. But I think in the next couple of years, we'll have to see how the economy goes. And perhaps the journal could continue to expand.
Right. I look at Revere. When I first came in here, I think I've been married 63 years, so I've been here 64 years.
My goodness, yeah.
Yep. To the same woman, by the way.
Oh, yeah. No, I know that.
Okay. When I first came in here, Revere is nothing like it is now. I mean, it was mostly the people were Italian or there were Jewish people out there. Now we have a diversification of all groups of people, and it's nice. The only thing is that I find difficult with myself is sometimes when I go into the store and people do speak a foreign language, which is good. And I'm sorry that I did not learn Spanish or Italian. I did learn German, but that was in the wrong place to be to learn it anyway. That somehow they communicate with what I would like to see English be the predominant language and any other language be secondary. And maybe, I don't know if they do that in the school system, but I know in some cities in Florida, they do that. I mean, you can learn Spanish.
Too, yeah.
Texas, you can speak Spanish, no problem. You can speak Italian, no problem. Any language. But predominantly, you and I communicate like now, English. And then when you want to speak, because I go into the stores a lot and I see a lot of the people that are from outside the country. What did you say? What did you say? What did you say?
Yeah, no, that's a big issue in Revere, what you're talking about. And, it is frustrating, at one point. But, I think it's also just a cycle, because I was speaking with someone, well, he's deceased now, but a long time Central Avenue resident right out here. And, right across the street, Central Avenue and Broadway, there used to be a store where the bank is. It was called I think it was called La Economia. It was an Italian store, and the people in there really basically only spoke Italian. I remember he said that his father would have to go in and tell when the woman was working what he wanted, because his father spoke Italian. He didn't, and so it's a cycle. It was like that for a while, but it doesn't last. I mean, as generations go. I can tell you, being in the schools here in Revere, there are kids their parents probably speak 150 different languages from 150 different countries.
I was going to say.
But they are all speaking English. It's just, people have to, when they come here, they have to see the value of assimilating. And that term is, some people hate that, term. Some people say that's offensive. I don't think so. I mean, nobody's saying leave behind everything, You want to remember your culture and where you come from and teach other people about it. But we all have to be on the same page at some point.
I'd like to tell you something, if I may. I just learned that from the senior center yesterday. I believe it's the Wayland School. We were up there about 6-7 months ago speaking to the kids, and we had the
yeah, I heard about that.
Right, and the kids loved us. And so they called us up again to ask us to come down again. And there were people like Eileen Murillo who'll be coming down. Myself will be going down again. I hope Marie Cowick, who's out there listening, she'll be coming down. And some of the women who are veterans, or even non-veterans, come down and entertain the kids. And let me tell you, they are our future generation.
It's true.
They're going to be the leaders of our country. Now, if they see how patriotic we are, they're going to be the same way on there. So, to the Wayland School, thank you for inviting us. And before we close...
Okay.
Oh, yeah, before we close, I would like to ask you one more question.
Sure.
Or 2 more, to be exact.
Or even 3 if you'd like.
I don't count that high.
I think you told me that before.
No. There was a thing, Kathy Reinstein was up here our last show, and she was speaking about the Valor Act. I happened to be in Boston about 2 weeks ago on Court Street, and I saw a lot of veterans that were out in the street, sleeping at night near the grating so they could get the heat. She said there was no reason for them to have any veteran, or matter of fact, or any human being, to be homeless. I know the city of Revere takes good care of the veterans.
Yes.
They take good care of their residents, especially the elderly.
Yes.
How do you find it when you go around to other towns? Do they do anything different than we do, or they?
Well, I think if you're talking about like in Everett, Everett has a strong program too. Chelsea has a strong program. A lot of the East Boston too. A lot of the areas right in these towns, right in this area, they do. They really concentrate heavily on helping the veterans, and that's been made even you know, stronger lately with all the younger people who are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. So those services are all the more important for them and for the older veterans as well. So there's really a dedicated effort all around for that. And I know one issue that's really coming up in this area is housing for veterans, those who are elderly and also those who are just coming back.
That's good. Yeah. So there's no reason for any veteran to be homeless. All he has to do is go to the Revere Veteran Service, see either Donna Dreesen or Nick Bua, and they will get help. So if you're a homeless veteran, please do not be one.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, yeah. And then, there's an issue on that, too, with the housing. They're trying to get that changed so that veterans housing is for veterans. Right now, there's a lot of people who jump ahead of veterans. And we got to get...
they're talking about that in the city? Beautiful.
That's coming up. Yep.
Good.
Keep watching the Revere Journal. You might see something about that.
Okay. And I would like to say, before we close the show, Nick, I want to thank you, Seth, for coming on.
My pleasure.
Taking the time off. I know you're a busy man.
Well, I didn't have to go far, just up the elevator.
Right. And I would like to thank the audience watching the show, the people of Revere, the veterans, and God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Until the next time, thank you for listening in and watching. Thank you. I don't know how many minutes this was, but I hope I did